Over 30 new cases of the COVID-19 disease have been reported in Bafut in the northwest region for the past 1 week. In the same vein, 4 people have reportedly died in Saw village, which marks the entry point into that subdivision. And a collective funeral ceremony of some 50 persons who died in the January 27-2021 road accident at La Falaise and Chang Hill took place this Friday at the Chang ceremonial ground. And over 12 million of Cameroon's forest and landscape is suffering from high levels of degradation. Amid these rising levels of degradation, Cameroon's government is redoubling efforts to plant more trees to replace lost forest lands. Those were major stories. Details right ahead. Over 30 new cases of the COVID-19 disease have been reported in Bafut in the northwest region of Cameroon. In the same vein, 4 persons are reported to have died in Saw village, which marks the entry point into that subdivision. To preempt further spread, local municipal authorities have kick-started a community initiative at the Bamenda-based food market and the Tarikun motor parks, transporting passengers to Bafut. More in the following story. There are reports of an upsurge of COVID-19 cases in Bafut subdivision in Mezam division of the northwest region. Recent reports say over 30 persons have tested positive for the deadly virus within the past few days, with 4 deaths recorded around Saw, the gateway village into the subdivision.
When I spoke with the district medical officer and the director of the district hospital in Bafut, by then there were 2 cases that were recorded and so. But as of yesterday, the population was equally calling the mayor, calling me to come into the aid because those 2 families, again, as of yesterday, lost 2 members. You know, it is a multiplying effect. As one person dies, they go to the burial, they go and contaminate themselves, and they continue dying. So, as of yesterday, I know that there are about 4 persons who have died, and following the report, I also got over 30 people are being infected now.
To that effect, some Bafut people in Bamenda, led by municipal authorities, stormed the Bafut motor parks at the Bamenda food market and at Tarikun this Friday morning, dishing out face masks to drivers and passengers, reawakening barrier and other preventive measures like this man just coming in from Tico.
Sensitization that comes along with the COVID-19 is somehow complex a bit because some people take it and some people don't want to take it. Like for the social distancing, we try to maintain it. Even when I was traveling, there were control posts on the way that
we don't really discover that and each time for stop the matter. So we're trying for a nose mask, we don't give you this matter and we'll share that even that.
So if you disinfect your motor, it is save your life, save the life of others, for your family. So no hurry.
This community initiative also saw the disinfection of vehicles plying the Bamenda-Bafut roads before passengers get on board. Roads in some commercial streets and that leading to the Kribi main port is fast degrading. The population have expressed worries with fears they are doomed to road accidents if nothing is done. Gladys Ambo-Dibang has the rest of that story.
This 35-kilometer stretch of road in Kribi in the south region of Cameroon is fast deteriorating. The road that spans from the Kinky Bridge to the police checkpoint down to Ebome, the Ebuje Bridge and the chocolate factory has several potholes that render circulation difficult. I keep asking myself why these roads are not maintained. I keep thinking, if our complaints don't get to the right quarters, there are potholes everywhere on the road. It's horrible. Grass has equally engulfed parts of the road that leads to Big Batanga and Ebunje too, and there are fears this might provoke accidents. You can see that the road between Big Batanga and the port is blocked. Pedestrians have difficulties to circulate. There is no deviation due to this blockage. Government should help out by maintaining the road in order to prevent accidents. The roadsides have been invaded with grass. I almost had an accident on this road a few days back when 2 trucks that were struggling to dodge potholes almost hit my bike. Thanks to students on holidays, the road linking Luma to Bongahale were cleaned. And while waiting for the 38 kilometers Kribi-Lolabe road to be delivered by October 2021, the population believes it is imperative to maintain the already degrading road to preempt any eventualities.
A collective funeral ceremony of some of 50 persons who died on January 27, 2021 in a road accident at La Falaise in Chang took place this Friday at the Chang ceremonial ground. The ceremony was presided at by the governor of the West Region. The details in the following story.
Via pictures a track from a distance in different sizes that depicts their ages. They lie helpless in their caskets, displayed this Friday at the Chang ceremonial ground. It is a collective funeral ceremony of those who died on January 27, 2021, road accident on La Falaise Chang. A ceremony presided at by the governor of the West Region. Families watch helplessly in tears as government ushers the death to the land of no return. Friday's funeral ceremony follows a communique earlier signed by the AZ of Menua Division. It disclosed 10 persons involved in the accident had not signaled if they were alive, despite several communiques. According to the AZO, they are normally supposed to provide information with regards to the present situation. From the funeral ground, the corpses are handed to the families for burial in their respective villages. It should be noted the accident at La Falaise Chang on January 27 involved a 70-seater transport bus and a truck transporting contraband fuel. Coalition sparked a blaze that consumed the 2 vehicles. Many were burnt to death as victims journey this Friday, September 3, to the land of no return. Their memories will forever remain engraved in the hearts of their loved ones.
Over 12 million of Cameroon's forest landscape is suffering from high levels of degradation. Amid the rising level of degradation, the Cameroon government is redoubling efforts to plant more trees to replace lost forest lands. But the question remains over effective implementation of such ambitious tree planting program. As we hear in this story, Regina Leketandak.
12 million hectares of Cameroon's lands are suffering from land degradation. Reforestation efforts over the years have been frustrated by the local population.
We have been pressured in our local communities by the population that has gotten into certain reserves and plantations that were established before. So this meeting is to reinforce that capacity with all stakeholders.
At a workshop in Douala this September 3rd, officials of the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife launched a campaign to popularize the National Plantation Forest Development Program in dense forest area. The program seeks to plant at least 40,000 trees every year and 1 million trees by 2035.
Within this program is going to bring up so many stakeholders, especially people living around forest area. Those that carry out deforestation, those that carry out timber exploitation legally and even illegally, to enable them to plant trees where in areas where these trees have been removed. Is going to bring so many people on board that will also contribute in planting their personal plantation. And with this program, you will see that it is easy to follow up trees that have been planted in plantations than in areas where it's not owned by any individual.
The reforestation program is in line with Cameroon's engagement to reforest 12 million hectares of land before 2030 within the scope of the African Forest Landscape Restoration Initiative that seeks to reforest 100 million hectares of degraded lands by 2030. 8 million of Cameroon's 12 million hectares of the reforestation program will be focused in the Grand Nord to push back the rapidly advancing desert conditions.
The involvement of local grassroots organizations in the complete elimination of gender-based violence in society today was focus of a meeting that took place in Yaoundé to the call to action field implementation 2021-2023. The organizers want an operational, realistic plan of action for Cameroon to benefit for our women, a great force as far as development is concerned. Beatrice Ngamo has the rest of that story.
Reduction or eradication of issues of gender-based violence in times of emergency using the bottom-top approach means involvement of grassroots local organizations who deal and treat these issues on a daily basis. The focus of the discussion meeting in Yaoundé with female leaders of these local organizations.
We want to start from the grassroots. We want to start from these women. We want to identify these problems from the grassroots and from the work they have been doing. So that at the end of the day, we are going to carry out an evidence-based activity or project that's going to seek actual real outcomes and real results to the issues of gender-based violence in Cameroon.
They are from the far north, east, northwest, and southwest conflict zones and surrounding regions. Here is an example of a local organization catering for underprivileged and remote known division of the West region. But the influx of Mbororo internally displaced persons from the northwest region there also came with different forms of violence.
We have always been having a lot of physical violence. Men usually beat their women, and we know that most of these causes is because the women are not working. They don't have a means of survival, and a lot of psychological trauma which actually affects them. So this workshop will help me maybe to go back and empower the women socially and economically.
The issue is of international concern. Initiative under Care International in partnership with the Community Center for Integrated Development. Their focus is to wipe out gender-based violence, a big hindrance to development of the country. Coming out with an operational realistic action plan, solid concrete solutions is the operational roadmap Cameroon needs by the end of 2023. 3 years to obtain Cameroon's call for action field implementation.
Butchers in Yaoundé have standardized the price of a kilogram of beef in markets. In a press conference this Friday, the syndicate leaders called on the respect of the different prices per kilogram or may fees, repressive fees of the price regulation process. Haisencha was part of that press conference. His story.
2,300 and 2,800 francs is the standard market price for a kilogram of beef, with bones and without bones, respectively, here at the Melen market, where lately sellers, consumers, and price control agents have been at loggerheads on the price of the widely consumed delicacy. The butchers' syndicate leaders this Friday were out on an intensive campaign with the homologated prices visibly pasted in the market to guide both sellers and buyers. I want to reassure Cameroonians that all butchers concerted before arriving on these prices. A kilogram with bones is 2,300 and without bones, 2,800 francs. I'm calling on all the butchers to respect such prices. These after a press conference when the different leaders called for the respect of the new prices in line with the government efforts to regulate this sector. We concerted with butchers and cattle dealers and all the intermediaries in the sector to limit all the irregularities. The butchers equally challenged government to regulate the entire chain, from rearers to cattle dealers, to make these prices effective. Customers from now henceforth can now denounce recalcitrant butchers through the toll-free number 1502.
In less than 2 days, schools reopened their doors for another school year across Cameroon. The context characterized by COVID-19, stakeholders in the education sector are disturbed. During a sectoral meeting in the city of Douala, teachers as well as principals were told to implement measures to bar the way against the new wave or the new variants of the COVID-19. We'll have more in the following story. Now we're talking about a back to school, and in less than 2 days, schools will reopen their doors for another school year in the context characterized by COVID-19 pandemic and with the third wave that is hitting across Cameroon. Principals and teachers have been told to strictly implement measures to bar the way against COVID-19. The details in the following story. We are talking about back to school, and we are talking of a sectoral meeting that held yesterday in Cameroon's economic city, Douala, and principals as well as teachers were told to strictly implement measures to bar the way against the third variant, which sounds to be very deadly. The details in the following story.
Low vaccination coverage and high risk of the spread of a severe third wave, given the different variants are circulating within the country, remains a disturbing situation to education stakeholders as schools reopen their doors September 6, 2021. At a sectoral meeting in Douala, the regional delegate for secondary education has sent out major guidelines to principals.
We have to continue giving some material to schools for them to make the disinfection, to continue keeping the bucket for students to wash their hands, and then to have soap too, and then for all the students to enter the classroom with the mask. Then the second prescription is that if, in case of a high level of number of students, we can continue making the shift system. So
another bone of contention is exorbitant PTA levies that has been under criticism from parents for a while. The regional delegate for secondary education says schools can't do without PTA levies, but insists on its proper management.
I don't know a public school or even some private school that can function without the PTA association. So we know that today in our various schools, we lack teachers, that we need to buy some benches, we need to do many things, and even this constraint coming from COVID push us to disinfect classes almost once or twice a week, and it needs means.
The assistance by some principal means PTA levies is mandatory.
You don't have means. Your PTE can help us to do it.
Students, the number of students, and to respect the COVID rules of 1 meter apart per student. In some classes, we actually had difficulties to put them.
Despite the context characterized by COVID, schools are determined to exhaust curriculum and ensure students have excellent results this academic year. And that report brings us to the end of this edition of Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. Thanks so much for watching, but don't go away. We'll have news in the French language coming up at exactly 7:50. This never can equally, but coming up next is the brief with Arno Ngefak. As for me, we'll see you again on Monday, but do have a wonderful time. The company of our programs. Good night.